Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we can continue with the technical training. In this next slot, we will talk about the front space. Front space is a model designed for use in the front office, so for receptionists. It helps keeping track of visitors. Um, okay. Uh, okay. Let's go through the front space views first. We will start with the visits view. Here you can see all appointments, visits, and select in a selected date and time period. This view can be used to enter appointments, open and close visits, but its main purpose is to present a detailed information about each appointment or visit. If an appointment or a visit has been made in the past and has never been closed, it will still show in this view. By clicking on the header of columns, you can sort the lines by visitor, badge, check-in, check-out, host, and receptionist. You can also filter the lines by visitors, hosts, receptionist, and status. This is the first view, the visits view. The next view in the front space model is one day. It shows all appointments and visits on a particular day. Instead of details in columns, it displays timelines. The green line it displays appointments, and the black line displays visits. If the green line is fading, it means that no length was specified at the time of making an appointment. A fading black line displays an open visit, so the visit that is not yet closed. If a black line stretches from the beginning of the day, this means that the visitor has been checked in a day earlier. And if the black line stretches to the end, like here, this means that the visit lasts to the next day. The one-day view is typically the starting point for entering appointments, opening and closing visits. Same as in the visits view, if an appointment or a visit has been made in an earlier date and has never been closed, it will still be displayed in this view. So if you select one day, you will see all visits from this day and all past visits that has not been closed. The next view is the one-day view. The next view is the event log view. This is the list of all recorded events shown along with the date and time. The list is sorted chronologically. You can select a custom time period, and you can filter events by visitor or by reader or by event. I only have check-ins and check-outs. You will also see passes here If a visitor passes a point, you will see that in the event log. Okay, these are all three views in the front space module. So we can now show how to make an appointment and how to open a visit. We can both do on the visits view or the one-day view. We use these icons on the top of the screen for that. Entering visits during the check-in may sometimes take too much time. To avoid this situation, receptionists can prepare an upcoming visit by making an appointment as soon as he gets info about it from a host. Creating appointment in advance has advantages. For example, a receptionist can have an overview of the upcoming situation because he gets the idea of how many and when the visitors are expected to come. Another advantage is that check-in takes less time because majority of the data about a visitor and the host is already entered and the badge can already be assigned. Okay, so to make an appointment, click the appointment button and pick a visitor. Click the icon at the end of the visitor field to select a visitor. You will get a list of visitors whose names are already stored in the database from the previous visits. If your visitor is not yet in the database, you have to enter his data first. You can do that if you click the Add Visitor button. The same window as we were looking yesterday when we were entering users will appear, and you can enter a new visitor. Typically, we enter name and last name and maybe address. CT. Okay. If you select an existing visitor who has already visited your company in the past, then Time&Space automatically adds the host from his last visit. You can change this, of course. A host is someone from your company, so you simply search and pick him from the list. Let's say this one. The visit time is disabled because visitor hasn't arrived yet. This is an appointment. You can enter a note. Note can be entered at any time. You can edit it after. You can edit it when you were checking in or checking out. In the appointment section, you select a date, expected time of arrival, and expected duration. But let's say today. Okay. This is how we open an appointment. If you now let's try to show how to open a new visit. Again, we can do that on both views, on visits view or on one-day view. To start a new visit, you simply click the check-in button here on the top. If you mark a line with an appointment before you click the check-in button, then the system asks you if you want to open a visit for a selected appointment. If you click yes, wait a second, yes, I'm on a demo database and I'm not in full control. Okay, if you will click yes, then the data is transferred from the appointment and you only have to fill out the data in the access section. Date and time of the visit is filled automatically. It is taken from the computer time. The same happens when you check out, when you are closing the visit. Okay, you select the badge. You can choose it from the list, like I did, or you can create a new one. Next thing you need to do is select access profile. You can choose between badge, host, and custom. If you select badge, then you inherit access profile that is predefined on the badge. If you select host, then you inherit it from a host. In our case, Connor doesn't have an access profile. Or you can click custom. If you choose custom, then this readers field will be enabled. If we check when we select badge, it is disabled. The same is when you select host. So if you select custom, then this readers field enables, and you can select a custom access profile for your badge or for your visitor. Okay, let's select the badge. You can also enable expiration date and time of the badge if you want to additionally limit the user of this badge. Check the update active profile option if your devices operate in online mode and the selected profile should be sent to the devices in real time. If your devices for any reason operate in offline mode, then you should uncheck this option, and the only option you can select in this case for access profile is badge, which means that you use the predefined access profile because the system works in offline and you cannot send the access profiles to the devices. The last section on this visit view is receipt selection. If you select without printing, if then you don't print the sign slip. Select print if you want to print the sign slip, and select preview if you want to preview the sign slip before you print it. The last option, the unsigned checkbox, is disabled. This checkbox will be enabled when you will be checking out the visitor. Okay. Do we have any questions? No. Okay. When a visitor finishes the visit and comes to a receptionist, he has to return his badge, of course, and the sign slip with the host signature, which is optional. It's not necessary. At that moment, a receptionist finds the record in the system, so his visit. Maybe the easiest way is if he goes to the visits view and filter the lines by the badge. Let's select this one. To close the visit, simply click checkout. The only info you can enter at that moment is the status of the sign slip, and yeah, this is. And you can you can enter a note. The real-time clock shown next to the checkout field runs. Or no, the time of the checkout is again the time of your local computer. Once the visit is closed, the badge is available to be given to another user or an employee or a visitor. And this is pretty much it. I believe that we covered most of the available functions in front space. Do you have any questions? Okay.
I have one question, sorry.
Okay.
If we mistakenly check out wrong visit, how can we undo this? If I see that you cannot delete or edit.
No, you
or
cannot
anything.
delete. You can only delete open, not closed visits and appointments. So you cannot update a finished. But I believe that this is, I don't know. It's not a big chance to fail. It's like you are signing out of hotel. You have to. The receptionist finds you in the system and closes your visit.
If we have a barrier on the entrance, is it connected if the visitor go out on the barrier and register on the? Is it automatically do the checkout or?
No. The only thing is that you can set up is the access profile, and with access profile you can limit the visitor which door he can open and which he cannot. He has to come to the front office to close the visit, to finish the visit, to check out.
Okay.
Maybe these two options. I didn't say anything about reports. You can. I think that on event log and on the visits view you can create a report. Simply click this report button and the report wizard will open. Then you can you can create a report for in other places in time and space. Maybe we can look at these time zones. We already checked. We already looked at access schedules, scheduled schedules yesterday. We didn't look at space calendar. Space calendar is a calendar with a holiday. Here you can add holiday, and if you create a schedule that is enabled on holiday, this schedule takes these holidays from this space calendar. If you create a new holiday, you can make it recurring, and you can limit it to 1 unit, so you can create different holidays for different organizational units. Okay. This front space model is pretty simple, so I think there is not much more to say. If you have any questions, we can answer it, but otherwise, I think we can finish.
Yanis, maybe just this, so the visitors can be entered also on user's view as visitors, right?
Yes, so visitors are users are separated in employees and visitors. So you can create visitors here in the user's view, but you open the same window if you go through this visits view.
Can you just explain? Sorry, can you just explain the limitations by the license? What is the limitations?
Limitations. Front space, number of open visits in front space model. So you have to license open visits. You have to estimate how much visits you usually have opened at the same time.
It doesn't matter how many visitors we have, because someone can come once and never again in visitors in database.
Yes, but no, it's not. When he leaves, his visit is closed, and it doesn't affect a license anymore. Only for open visits.
Open, okay.
Yes. And maybe Jean, do you know? I think that access control does it affect? Of course.
Probably, I'm not
yes.
sure.
License for access control is how many users have a badge. How many users have a badge? So even if the user is an employee, or if he's a visitor and has a badge number, he takes one license. Okay. That's it. Let me check.
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
I want to find out when you have, say, a license for 10 open visits at a time.
Yeah.
Does it mean that means that you can't have an 11th visit within that same period?
Yes. That's
Okay.
That's exactly. If you try to open another visit and you already have 10 visits open, then the system will deny you, and you will have to close one visit before you close another, open another one, the new one.
All right, sure. That's understood. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. The next slot is with Uroš. He will talk about Visual Space Manager. It starts at 1:45, so we have a 9-minute break. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Hello all, can you hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can.
Do you see my
Yes, yes.
screen? Do you see
Yes,
also
we
my
can see.
screen?
Yes, we see.
Okay, let's get started. For those who have missed my yesterday's first presentation, I'm Uroš Kočevar. I work at Spika as a quality assurance engineer for over a decade, and today I will be with you with two presentations. First, we'll start with the Visual Space Manager and finish off with the Space API. I hope you have the energy to survive two more lessons, because of course this training, which lasts more than one day, can be quite exhausting. So let's begin with the first one. So when we talk about access control and so on, and if we have a lot of access points in the system, company usually have some security officer who is in charge that controls this access, or users which go through certain points and so on. And the easiest way to do this in time-space system is to use a module called Visual Space Manager. What this module does is offers a visual survey of events which occur in the system. So for example, when someone makes a registration on a specific access point, this security officer then can get a visual notification of this event. With this module, this officer can also manage alarms and doors in the system. So if there is a need, he can easily open or close a specific door for a limited for the limited time. And if you also have integration established with the video surveillance system, with this module, you can also view a camera or replay a video of the existing recordings. So the software requirements are more or less the same as with other .NET modules. So you need to have .NET Framework 6.4 or higher. And of course, if you also would like to use camera or video replay functionality, you need to have a video surveillance system. In our case, this is Milestone. We started with the ZTEC at the start, but later on we switched to Milestone. The option for ZTEC is still there because it's for one older version of ZTEC, but with the latest ZTEC versions, this integration will not work. We will talk about this video surveillance integration later. Okay, so what are the privileges that are used in this module? So we have 5 permissions which can be set in the access role. The first and of course the most important permission is for the login, and then we have the permission for the project administrator. This is like an admin in this module who can configure the project, the plans, the data points, and so on. And then separated permissions for door, alarm, and video surveillance management. Of course, this is all done. These permissions are, of course, then managed in Time&Space Manager, as we seen yesterday. When we talk about hierarchy of the project that we built here, we can say that, of course, you can have several projects in the organization, but only one project can be opened at the specific time. So of course, all this data is stored in the database. So easily, if you have several officers, each can have their own project, or they can use the existing, the same one. And when we create a project, then we define one or more plans. So the plan represent the graphical presentation of some floor or of some room or a building. This is completely up to you what we'll use for that. And on this plan, we defined points which represent readers, alarms, cameras, outputs, or we can also create a combined point, which is one point which can represent all the previous ones. So if you have a lot of readers, a lot of outputs, etc., then if you will put all of them on the single plan, it will be a complete mess, because you will not know which one is for a specific purpose. So for that, you can ease up the configuration and use combined point. So of course, the first thing that you need to do in the module is to create a new project. So for this, you need a project administration and permission. So you will go to projects view, create a new project, and then you will add a plan. You can have you need to have at least one plan on the project. And for this project, you would select some picture. Of course, it doesn't need to be a picture. You can create some dummy image, which can be completely in a single color. So for example, black and so on. So it's only a matter of visualization. And then when you have added the plan, then you configure the points that are available in your system. So for example, if you have a single zone spot controllers, you would probably have up to 2 readers, some alarms if they are defined, and 4 outputs. And then you pick these readers and other entities which are relevant to you. Of course, you don't need to create this. You don't need to create the points in which you are not interested. So you will place here only points that are really important for you, and for those who will on which you will check the data. So if we take a look on parameters which are available on these points, you see that you have different parameters on different points. So for example, here on the reader points, you see that you can also play some sound, or you can show notification when the event appears. So creating a new point in the project is very simple. If you just go and open this reader or alarm drop-down menu, select the reader on the list, and then the name field will be automatically populated with the name of the reader. Of course, you can later change the name if required, and you can also add on the reader point, you can also add limitations. So for example, limitation according to some department or organizational units. So if you want to narrow down the data which is represented on this point to the specific user group. And on the output point, you just there are no specific parameter, just the output name, just the output from the system and the name. And this is the example of the combined point. So for combined point, you will first create this individual entities like readers, outputs, alarms, but you will not place them on plan, just in the project, and then you will just add this entities to this combined point, and all notifications which will appear on these entities will be presented on the plan as a combined point. Then we have the main view, which is called live view. So on this live view, we see what is actually happening in the system. So here on the left, you see we have a list of plans and a list of project points. And we should probably open at least the most important plan in which we are currently interested, and then we will see points which are located on this plan. At the bottom, we see a dialog called events when we see live list of events happening currently in the system, of course, with different graphics. So registrations, alarms, and some other things have different icons, so you can easily see what is going on in the system. If you double click on the specific point on the plan, you get a pop-up with the additional message related to this entity. So for example, if this point is reader type, you will get the information about the last registration which happened on this, or let me say, it's more correctly to say on the last event which happened on this point. So for example, if this point is reader, you will get the last event on this point with the information about user, time, the type of the event, on which reader this happened, information about the badge. Of course, you also see the image of the user if this image is set in Time&Space Manager. And you can easily scroll to these events by using this next and previous buttons in the lower left corner. Of course, you can also set a custom event color here, so you can easily get the most important events, which will then signalize the officer that something good or bad is happening in the system. If there's also one very useful feature called toast messages. So in case that, I don't know, security officer is at the moment on the lunch break and he decides to skip watching Visual Space Manager, and he will go just, I don't know, on the internet and on the Facebook to check his profile. He got some messages and he minimizes the Visual Space Manager. The messages from the application will appear in the right lower corner of his screen as a toast message, and then will automatically disappear after several seconds. So this is quite nice feature. Is if the application is started but is not maximized, it's so the person is working in some other application but still gets these notifications from the system. One very useful feature also why to use Visual Space Manager is that you have direct control over the statuses of outputs. So for example, I don't know, there is a specific event when all doors or several doors in the organization needs to be opened for, I don't know, for a limited period time. For example, if some I don't know, some event is happening and you just want to open the doors temporarily, then this can be easily done by going here, selecting the you can either go and select individual output by selecting this output on the list and just selecting the open or open relay option. So open relay just temporarily opens the relay, and while the open and lock action change the status of this output to either open or either locked. And this will remain until you override this status by some other action, or if the reconfiguration happens in the administration device portal module. One very nice feature is also that you here have the possibility of multi-select. So if you go down on the live view and select output tab, you can see the list of the outputs which are defined in the project, and you can select several outputs and open or close them with one action from this module.
There is one question here.
Okay.
Is it possible for the user to control only selected doors?
Of course. This is what I talked. So in Visual Space Manager, you only have the control of the doors that you defined in the project. So you will create a project that you will create only the doors for the security officer on which this user has permissions, and of course this security officer will not have the administration permission for this module. So this way the user will only have the permissions for a limited list of doors. Okay, the next functionality of this module is also the management of alarms. So if you define alarms in the system and if you do not have automatic alarm deactivation option set on the alarms, so in this case you need to deactivate every alarm in order to become active or in the present state again. So this can be done either on the live view for the specific alarm, or here on the alarm overview when you see the list of all alarms which are defined in the system. And then you can also check the history, what has happened with this alarm in the past, etc. And of course filter them by going with these filters. And you can also disable the alarm. So if you disable the alarm will not go off if it's triggered because it's disabled. So every alarm needs to be enabled to be triggered. So we used a separate colors to signalize in which state the alarm is. So the disabled alarm are colored have a white background color. So in this example, I do not have such alarm. The enabled alarm are colored green, and the alarm which are triggered are colored in red. So as I mentioned before, so if you have the alarms which do not have automatic deactivation options set on the alarm definition, and the alarm group has the parameter that requires user intervention, you will need to deactivate each alarm when it's triggered. So when it's in which situation this option comes handy or it's advised to be used, I think that this option should be used with alarms that are really important for the organization. So if you have alarm like fire alarm or some other things, some other I don't know, or alarm for which signalize that some door has been broken. So such alarms should require should not have the options for automatic deactivation and should require manual activation, because with manual activation we expect that this security officer will go on site and check what has happened with this sensor who triggered this alarm, if the situation is critical, so if something really happened or it's just some other thing that triggered the alarm. Sometimes the sensors also can I don't know if they are not very stable or are set in such way that some other movement or some environment thing can trigger them. The alarm can go off, but we can treat it as a false alarm. So for critical alarms, I should say that you should go with this manual deactivation options. But for other alarms which are more trivial way, I don't know, if you have alarm for which trigger off if user does not have I don't know some rights, etc. For those alarms, I would go with automatic deactivation, because such alarms can happen a lot of times in the system, and this will be just some thing that will bother the security officer, and he will not focus on the things which are the most important in the organization. Then if you would like to check the data for the past, we have a dedicated view called alarms and event log. So on this view, you can check the data on the points which are defined in this project in the past. So you can see here you have a lot of filters on the right, and you can also use search field at the top to get the information that you're looking for. So this event log for the registration is more or less the same that you have it in the Time&Space manager on the level 0, which is also called event log. When we talk about general things that you need to set up to make this module functional, the first thing that you need to do is to establish communication and events parameters in the on the general settings. So you will open a general settings dialog, go to communication tab, and you should make sure that you set up the speaker communication parameters and the space API parameters. So this space API parameter is responsible for getting notification from about the registrations and the alarms from the system, and this speaker communication is the older service, but it is also used for these notifications. This central control system is only used if you would have the previous generation of module responsible for data collection, and which is called event collector manager. If you do not have this old module, then you don't need to set this option. And of course, if you would go through these other settings, you will see that there are several options that you can say you can set how this event windows and history is displayed. And as I mentioned before, you can also set the color or the sound which is played when some alarm or event notification happens in the system. There are also some things that you can, some parameters which you can use to modify how the interface is displayed, and there are also several languages in which also this module is translated. So once again, as I mentioned before, if you would like that your local language is available for this module, check with your representative on Spitzer, and we will send you a guide how you can translate this module to your local language. So at the end, we will go through some practical things. So I will show you how to set up this plan, communication, add some reader points, etc. But before we go there, I would like to talk a little bit about integration with a milestone. So what is the idea or why would you add an integration with the video surveillance system? So for example, let's say that you have several, I don't know, registration options in the system, and you need to make sure that only a certain people or the people who have the permissions go through these doors. Of course, if you're using badges, only badges for clocking or registration, you probably know that is a high chance that employees pass these badges between them, and so in such scenario, one employee can make a several registration for other employees, and this way they simulate that all are present, but they are actually not. So one situation, of course, would be that you can, with video surveillance system, you can detect such misbehaviors by setting this integration. So what this integration does, so on the one hand, we have a time-space system with some readers which collect the data through the device administration portal module, and this data is saved in our database. We have a visual space manager module where we check this when we check these events, etc. So if you want to trigger recordings in the visual surveillance system, of course we need to send the information when the event happens in our system, so the video surveillance system will catch this recording on time. To do this, we have developed a dedicated module called camera video trigger, which listens according to the configuration in the visual space manager about on which reader or on which alarm this recording should be triggered, and then when this recording happens in our system, it sends a signal to start recording, and then sorry, this recording is available in our module for a replay. So what you need to do when you make a integration with a milestone, you of course need to install and configure milestone surveillance system. Here, this is with milestone. There's one good thing, because you have a milestone version Essential Plus, which is free of charge. It's fully featured video management system, and this system can drive up to 8 cameras. So if you have a situation when you would need to set up this video surveillance integration in combination with the time-space system, and you don't need more than 8 cameras, so these video surveillance systems can be used free of charge. Of course, as I mentioned before, you need to install and configure this camera video trigger service, which triggers the recordings, and you need to configure some parameters in the Visual Space Manager. Don't worry, you don't need to, I don't know, memorize all this, because everything is described in details, how these parameters are set, etc. The configuration for the video surveillance is that you need to specify the type of the video surveillance, the host, and some username. So our VSM module can connect to this video surveillance system and gets the list of the cameras. And when these cameras are defined in our system, they can be used also for triggering of recordings. So how the recording looks like when you replay it in our system. So this is the example of recording for the clocking or the registration. So if you open a dialog which shows the registration for the specific user on the specific point, if this event has the recording, this video button is enabled at the bottom, and if you click on it, you get an instant replay of the video which is related with this recording. How we deal with the lag? Of course, if you visualize, so when we make a registration, it takes some time that the message from time-space system gets to video surveillance system and triggers the recording. Of course, this is easily solved by using a pre-buffer in the video surveillance system. So you would set up some seconds of pre-buffer, and then which are joined with the length of the recording, and this way you get the whole video of user making the registration. I will show you later during the practical part how this is really works in practice on our speaker installation. And one more thing that I would like to add with this video integration. We not only did one integration, but we also did reverse integration, where you would use a milestone client and then connect it with the time-space system. So you will get information about time-space events in the milestone client, but from my opinion, the usability of this video integration in this Visual Space Manager module is much better, because it's much more simpler to use than this milestone client. Okay, this was theoretical part. Let's now head to the practical part. So once again, I will make a remote connection to my desktop, and we will go and try to go quickly through this configuration part. So if you have not already installed Visual Space Manager, you can do this by either starting this general setup, which I explained yesterday, and on the component step, select only Visual Space Manager. But there is also a quicker way to do this by just going to workstation subfolder and select once again a subfolder called VSM and start this setup. So this is individual setup just for installing Visual Space Manager. Just start with the next button. Of course, you can change the location if needed. The database stays SQL Server, and I will finish the installation. So pretty straightforward, just next, next, next. When the setup is completed, you either go to the desktop and check for the desktop icon, or you go to the installation path, which is Program Files, Spica, Time&Space, Visual Space Manager, and you will start this eye-based icon. And of course, here you need to have a user which has at least login permissions for Visual Space Manager. You log in the best way if you use a user with the administrator role. So in my case, this is admin. So when I enter the application for the first time, you see that I do not have any project defined, etc. Everything is empty. And the first thing that I should do, I should go to settings and check these options which I talked before. So we need to make sure that this module receives the messages from the system. I should set this speaker communication. By default, these options are set to localhost. So in case that you have also other modules, these services, speaker communication service and device administration portal, which has Space API on your local host, by default, these connections are enabled, because when I close this notification, you see in the left lower corner, you see that the module has successfully connected to the Space API and speech communication service, and in this case, it's already working. Of course, you need to change local host parameters if VSM module is on the other workstation than these services. For my example, I will just leave it to localhost. So first of all, I will need to create a project. So I will just enter one name, like demo, and then the next thing, I will need to add some plan. So I will just add the name, floor 1, and load some images. For this purpose, I have created some dummy images for the plans. So my floor named floor 1 has a gray background, and that's it. Nothing fancy. And for other, I will create 2 floors. Floor 2. I will add a yellow background, and that's it. So now I have 2 floor plans with no data points for now. So I'll if I go to my device administration portal, you see that I have 2 devices, and I will use this zone spot device to create entities on my plan. So on the floor 1, I will add a point called reader. So as I mentioned before, you just select this drop-down menu, select the appropriate point, and the name is automatically filled. So it's a really nice feature to help you with the configuration. Then you can, of course, move the point to the desired position. I will also add a second reader. Let me just point them here, and I will also add some alarm points. You see that automatically they are not positioned well, so I need to move them. So I have 2 alarms, 2 readers, and I will also add some output. Okay, I can. Okay, great. And we finish out with the save plan option, which will then save the settings. You see that on the left I have 2 floor plans and my project points also listed. So now if I go to the live view, okay, this is the good thing that happened now, because for some reason the application crashed, but I can go to this log and check why this happened. I have played yesterday with this version, so there are, okay, doesn't matter, I will check it later because we are short on time. So I have lost all my configuration. I will just add once again. Okay, now it looks better. Okay, now I'm back on the live view. I have 2 of my, now I have only 1 floor plan with my points on my floor. So here at the bottom you see that this events alarm events list is empty because in the time when we opened and configured this module, no event has happened yet. So, but if I double click on my reader, you see that I get the information about the last event which happened on this reader, and it was from a user called system admin at yesterday at 9 p.m. and it was rejected access on the reader 1. And it's the same for the other reader, etc. So if you double click on the event which is on the plan, or if you click on the project point in the right, you get the information about the last event which happened on this data point. If I double click the output, if I double click on the point which represents the output, I see a different option. I get different options. So as I mentioned before, with this dialog, you can either temporarily open the relay, set the status to opened. Here you see at the bottom, you see the informations which are then sent to the controller. And if you also go to live view in the device administration portal, you will see the same messages. So output was opened on the specific device. And of course, by returning to the default state, this output returns to the state which is defined in device administration portal under on this controller. The option which I also mentioned before is how you can easily change the status of several outputs is by selecting this outputs tab at the bottom, and you will just select one output and then press shift and proceed with the multi-select. So click, shift, multi-select, and then select the action on the top, and this action will then with one action you can open or manage several outputs. So this is really cool and fast feature how to change the status of outputs. Okay, so this was about outputs. Let me show you about these notification messages. So since I'm working from home, I will show you, I will use one trick that we have only in the research and development. So we have some special firmware which offer us that we can trigger events on the controller through this zone device portal. Of course, this is not available in the regular firmware. This is just for the development. So in this case, I will trigger a registration on reader 1, and I will send a badge which have value from 1 to 6. So I have sent this message, and as you see, this registration happened. The message is visible at the top. So this message, this badge number belongs to user system admin, and the type of the registration is rejected access because this user is missing a profile. When I have made the registration on this point, you see that the point has got the red square. Let me do it again. Boom. So see, it's flashing, it's signalizing that something has happened on this, and if I double click, I get the detailed message. The next thing is the toast messages, which I talked before. So I have minimized my application, and when the events happened, you see the toast messages appeared in the right lower corner, and they are automatically then also cleared after several seconds. Okay, I'm just checking what is the time left for this section. So we will be on time for the last part. So the next thing, I will also show you about the alarms. So here on the alarms, you see that I have 2 alarms currently defined in the system, and if I disable it, it will not trigger off. So it needs to be enabled, and both of these 2 alarms are now enabled but are not triggered because the status of the background is green. Also here you have the options to set additional parameters for these alarms. We call these parameters alarm groups, and by default this alarm group is by default created when you create a database. So these alarm groups has several parameters which you can set. So in general, if this alarm is saved to database or not, if the user intervention is required, as I mentioned before. So if you, for critical alarms, you should check this option, and you can also set that the comment is required. This priority is only used for this filter options. So you can set priority to alarms, and you can then easily filter them out. The thing that is also useful is email notifications. So with email notification, users who are set to recipients will get an email notification when the alarm is triggered. So this is already the configuration that I entered yesterday when I prepared for this presentation. So I said sender can be some dummy email address, but the recipients are the one who will receive the email. Of course, if you would like to get email notification, you need to also make sure that you have a notification service installed. So this is a dedicated service which is responsible for sending email messages from the Time&Space system. This email notification service is used by several modules, also from approval workflow to device administration portal and so on. How this service is set can be found here. If you open Time&Space Manager user manual and go under add-ons, and you will search here for this one, notification services. It's pretty straightforward. You just make an installation, set up parameters for your SMTP server, and that's it. And where these notification messages are stored, so all the notification messages for this module are stored in this notification messages table, and this message is this service is responsible for sending out these messages. So I will just show you how this alarm functionality works. So in my case, I will trigger the alarm with the output 2, because this numeration goes from 1 to 4. So 0 is 1 and 1 is 2. So in this case, I will trigger it, and as you see here in the background, you see that alarm, which is set to be triggered by output 2, has been triggered. It's colored red. So also on the live log view, you see here the message. And if I open this alarm, you see, so this alarm requires user intervention, and the operator needs to manually deactivate the alarm in order to return to the non-activated state. So this can be done either from this menu, so this, or by going here and selecting deactivate alarm options at the top. So I will just go here and deactivate this alarm. Of course, since comment is not required, I have been able to close this alarm without comment. And as you see here, if I select, you see that a new message has been generated for the alarm, and we can also check how this email message looks like. It's pretty straightforward and plain. So just the message about alarm name and that has been triggered and on which device. And this is also a nice way how you can notify security managers or some people which are responsible for alarms in the organization. Okay, the last thing that I will show you is the video surveillance part in practice. So I will now, of course, we do not have the time to set up and configure a milestone because it can be time consuming, and I will show you how this works on our Time&Space installation on Spica. So if you have a video installation, video integration module enabled, you can also create a camera point, or you can create a project point which is linked to the specific camera, and you can just show a live camera view. So with this, you can check what is going on the camera live. So this is our entrance at Spica. So you see, due to the COVID situation, we do not have any a lot of visitors. So here's one. So Boshti is now making a registration and he's probably going home. So you will see how this whole procedure is done. So we got the notification that Boshti has made a clocking. He went out. You also see here that when the registration happened, the status turned to recording. And here, if I open this dialog again, you see that video playback option is enabled. And when I select this option, my video, which is related with this event, automatically starts to replay. So I can also play it back. So you see here, and here is also the thing that I talked before. So with video, you also have the possibility of the pre-buffer, so you can easily also check what happened before the registration. So the time of registration was probably something like now. So the time before this is all the pre-buffer, so you can easily also see in case of only if users are making registrations only with cards, what is happening if there was some tailgating, etc. Okay, I think that we are on time. This will be all for this section. Do we have any questions related with this module?
Yes, there is one question related to what we've been talking earlier.
Mm-hmm.
In your example, you've put one output or one door on the plan, but then on the outputs tab, you had all the outputs available to manipulate. So how can you hide some of them if you don't want an operator to see all of them?
Okay, maybe that was my bad judgment that I expected. Sorry, that I expected that. Yes, here see, yeah. Okay, I back then I thought that this is also related with these points, but it's different. So here you see, yeah, all the outputs that are defined in the device administration portal. So on this view, you cannot hide them, but I think that if you would, I think that you can get rid of them by setting a limitation on area on this user account. So we can check that very quickly. So if you go to device administration portal and on the device, you see that we have some parameter called area. So if you would place a device on specific area and limit this user, which you used for Visual Space Manager, to this area, I think that you should see only outputs that belong to this area. So I think this is the way how you can limit it.
Okay.
Okay.
One more question.
Okay.
Is it possible, or will it be possible that you, for example, for the door, for the output icon, that you can put two pictures for one state and another state, active or deactive, or
how which picture?
Now you have one picture for that output one. You have one picture.
Yeah.
Is it possible to put two pictures when it's active output, when output is active, to have open the door, for example, and when it's not active, to have this closed door?
So this icon of this point or output, etc., does not signalize in which state this output is. So this is this is better. If you want to control the status by icon, you should go here under outputs, and you see here the status.
Not to control, just to visualize.
You can change. I think that you can change these icons manually. So here, these are default icons. So if you would like to have some specific icons for your outputs, alarms, etc., you go here under edit, click on this icon default, and you can change this icon. So these are default icon. You can override it with some other icons. Yeah, okay, it needs to be in the specific dimension, and you can manually set the icons for outputs, and this way you can also I don't know, customize your plans and points to be, I don't know, more visible or more attractive.
Okay, and one more question about Milestone.
Mm-hmm.
I have one installation, but this is the 8.5 version of Time&Space.
Mm-hmm.
I have problems with triggers.
Mm-hmm.
I must record all the time so I can get the pictures. If I put trigger, if I start recording by the triggers, it doesn't work. I must have.
Okay, then you probably have some. First of all, 8. Which version did you say? 850.
8.5.
8.5. Okay. First of all, I would say that it's some situation with this camera video trigger, because if this camera video trigger is not configured properly, then it does not trigger the recordings. And I would say that you write this to our support team, and they will look it up.
Okay, but I know that some versions have some problems, but I cannot remember which one.
Of course, it's always good to use the latest official version. So I don't know. First of all, you could try to work it out on the current version. If everything is set and it's not working, then I would suggest that you also try with the latest version.
Okay.
But I think that the support can help you with this issue, because how we link these events with the videos is that we search the video on the specific camera by date and time. So in your situation, of course, if the camera is constantly recording, you get all the videos. But of course, in this case, you'll need to have a lot of space on the disk, because you are recording 24/7, and this can be quite a task for your system.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's head now to the latest topic for today, which is Space API. So what you need to know about Space APIs and when you would use Space API as an integration tool. So does end customer needs to know about Space API? Probably not. APIs are used when a customer wants to get some data from Time&Space system, or would need to, I don't know, synchronize some data or manage some things through the in the system from some other application. So for example, if you have let's say that customer has some HR system from which user needs to be synced into the Time&Space system, and let's say that also badges are defined in that system. So the way to achieve this is, of course, to create integration through APIs. So in our section, we will check what Space API offers, and with time attendance part, we will check about time API. So we have two APIs, one for time attendance and the other for the access control. Okay, the most important things about Space API are, so the Space API is the part of the device administration portal module, so you don't need to install it separately because it's already there. If you have device administration portal installed in the system, it is by default accessible on the port 1600, and it's available on the address HTTPC name of the server or IP, the port, and /API. So what you can do with this API? So you can access control-related functionalities such as output activation, alarm management, user management, profile management. So also the things that I showed you before in Visual Space Manager. So through API, you can, I don't know, activate output, you can deactivate the alarm, you can add users into the system, you can assign them badges, etc. So the communication can be established between the client and the API server only through HTTPS protocol. And till this version 8.20, we already have two versions of API. What is the good thing that if you use API for integration processes, the idea of APIs is that if something happens in the future, in the new versions, the old functionality or the all methods will remain in the API. So this integration, which is done in the previous version, doesn't get broken. So for this situation, you see that we already have version 1 and version 2. Of course, version 2 is advised to be used for all new projects. Version 1 is just for older integrations which are already there, and you of course we don't want to break them when you upgrade the system to the current version. But of course, all new functionality, etc., is done on the actual version, which is in our case version 2, and the installation requirements are of course the same as for a device administration portal. So how this authentication process happens? So the server here in this situation is Space API, and the client can be every client that supports such calls. Either this is some tool that can you use for testing the API, or this is of course real-time application which is used to get the information from the API. So of course, first you need to get a session token in this case. So you will send some requests with the username and password and get this session token as a response if of course the call is successful, and then you will equip all other requests with this access token that a session token that you get as a response, and this session token will be part of all other requests where you will get which will be used afterwards. So you have the authentication token, it's secured, so someone who does not know this, doesn't have the credential to access the API, cannot get the information. So we can say it's secure. So there are some parameters which need to be set up to get you started. Of course, everything is is described in details in the Space API users manual. This user manual is not available on the distribution or on the partner portal because I think that you need to sign NDA agreement to get this information. But since you are already partners, I will paste you the link in the chat through this API document where you have in detail described what can be done and how. Of course, as I mentioned before, this is only actual when you're doing some integrations between time and space and some other modules. Otherwise, you can forget about it. So there are some things that you need to do to get you started. So you need to create some GUID. You can do it on this site and store it into this table, and then you would use this GUID in the get session token request to get this session token, and how these things looks in the Postman. So Postman is a very popular tool for testing and developing APIs. So you can easily use it to check how the API performs and what data it returns. So in this case, I will just go briefly through it because I think that if you are not a developer, you will probably won't bother to going to this application. But this is just insight for you to see how this data is returned and in what what is the content that you get. So first of all, you need to send us a request for a session token, which has parameters like authorization and this GUID, and you also need to define a username and a password from the time and space system. So here you see that we have two levels of checking that user has appropriate permissions to get the access to the API, and if the request is successful, you get the information back. So here you see the response, you have the token, the information about which user is used to get this information, and the timestamp. And then if you want to send a request, for example, to get the list of all users which are now in the system, you would select the get method and send this send this request to the API. And as you see here, so the response that you get from the API is in JSON format. So this is the text format, which is formatted in the JavaScript format. Of course, then what integration does. So on the other side, you would create an application or a service which will be able to transform this response from this format into information in other system, etc. So this is the preferred way to do integration processes with time and space system and some other modules. What do you need to access the API? Of course, along with these credentials, you also need to have SDK license in your system. So how you can check that? So if you go to the Time&Space Manager and select license dialog from the menu, you will get information about the license. So here is it. So under external modules, you have TS SDK license. So you also need to have this license, otherwise you cannot access the API. This stands for both Time API or Space API. So if your company has developers, you can offer the integration services, of course, to your end customers by yourself. If you do not have the developers who will create such services, you can order such integration projects here on Spica. So we will develop you, or you can also, I don't know, hire some third-party firm who will develop integration processes for your end customers. So how to do it, the options, you have many options. It's just the good to know that the APIs are here and you must be familiar what can be done with it. Okay, I think that we are on time. Do we have any last questions related with this Space API? Okay, if not, this will be all for today. Have a nice day and see you tomorrow.
Okay, see you.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.